Hello, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Welcome. Today we have two people here to talk about something that's really important to all of us, or it should be, invoice management. We have Nathan.halter from Batch for Books, and also joining us is Valerie Partridge-Martin from Skylight Books. This is a meeting format, so we will have plenty of time for questions at the end if you want to drop them into the chat. Or when Nathan's ready, he'll ask him, you can turn off your mic and ask him directly. All right, Nathan, take it away.
Thanks, Kristen. Hi, everybody. My name's Nathan, and I am the program manager for Batch for Books here in the US. Before joining Batch, I worked at indie bookstores in Southeast PA and also for a number of years at the American Booksellers Association. So I'm really happy to be here today talking to you all about Batch. Joining me here is Valerie Partridge-Martin from Skylight Bookshop in Los Angeles. We're supposed to have a second bookseller, but unfortunately they couldn't make it here today. My goal is that I hope you leave here with a good idea of what Batch is, how it works, and how you would benefit by using Batch. I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about Batch, show you a bit of the platform, go over the nuts and bolts of using Batch. After that little introduction, I'm going to turn things over to Valerie to talk about the bookseller experience of using Batch. And at the end, Valerie and I are going to be available to answer any questions you might have. Before I get started, I did want to say that Batch is live and operational, and we have over 100 stores actively using Batch. I only bring this up because I've talked to several booksellers who've mentioned they've heard of Batch and are sort of familiar with Batch, but didn't realize that we had launched. It probably didn't help that we launched in February of 2020, so the timing, wasn't great because of everything that kind of came after that point. That out of the way, let's get started. What is Batch for Books? I'm going to just start off real basically. To put it simply, Batch is an online web platform for indie bookstores to manage and keep track of their invoices and credits, and also to prepare payments to their vendors. The problem that Batch solves is that of invoices. Namely, you are receiving so many of them. You get invoices emailed to you, clogging up your inbox. You get invoices mailed to you, resulting in stacks and stacks of paper on your desk. There's hardly any consistency in formatting across vendors, so even getting them filed and organized can present a really big challenge. And that's without even getting into reconciling the invoices, dealing with discrepancies, getting them entered into your accounting software, and paying the invoices. It's a ton of work, and it really isn't an area where you can take many shortcuts or cut out steps because of how important invoice management is to being aware of your financial position and being current with your vendors. So that's the problem. You're getting so many invoices every day. It's eating up a lot of your time and money to organize and pay those invoices. Time and money that, quite frankly, could be better spent elsewhere. And this is where Batch comes in. Batch is, like I mentioned, Batch is an online platform, so you don't need to download anything to your computer or anything like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to organize all those invoices and credits for you, make it really easy to keep track of them, and make it really easy for you to prepare your payments. You're going to be able to streamline and even eliminate some of the things you're currently doing. Now let's talk about how it all works. When you sign up for Batch, publishers are going to start electronically transmitting all your invoice and credits to your Batch web portal. The invoices and credits are generally transmitted within 24 hours of them being created by the publisher. So they're going to be on your Batch web portal before the shipment even arrives at your store. Now that's all happening in the background, just giving you kind of some context. There's nothing you have to do other than sign up to make that happen. You don't have to initiate them or download them. It's just a daily flow of information between the publishers and Batch. The good thing about this is that since the information is coming directly from the publishers, what you're seeing on your end in Batch is what the publishers are seeing on their end. So there's no need to worry about misplaced invoices or never received paperwork, all of which, it's going to be much easier to, resolve any discrepancies that might arise. Okay, now I'm going to share my screen with y'all. There we go. Great. So when you go into Batch, you're going to encounter our main menu. There's not an overwhelming number of options here, which kind of speaks to the simplicity and ease of using Batch. Where I want to focus today is on this period summaries option. This is where you're likely going to be spending most of your time when you're on Batch. So let me click through there. In period summaries, Batch is organizing your invoices based on when they're due. We do this to make it really easy for you to come and immediately see what invoices are due now and to access those invoices to prepare your payment. The default view is called the current view, and you can see that right there. And this is showing what's due by the end of the current month. So this table is reflecting everything due by the end of May 2022. As you can see, it's organized by publisher. We also have a future view, so you can just see things that are going to be due after the end of the month, due in the future, also organized by publisher. And we also have this future by week view. It's a little bit different. This is summarizing, giving you a summary based on upcoming due dates. This can be handy for understanding what kind of cash you're going to need to have on hand in the future to pay your invoices. But let's go back to the current view. From here, there are basically 3 levels of information on Batch. This top level is the summary view. It's very general. It's just kind of showing you what's outstanding within each of your publishers. Now, all the numbers on the tables, they're links, and you can click through them so that you can see a list of invoices and credits. So let's click through on the outstanding HarperCollins transactions. And it's going. Okay, so you're just seeing a list of all your invoices and credits for HarperCollins, and it's just giving you that general kind of invoice information. What's nice is from here, you can also click on an invoice or a credit note number to see the detail for that invoice. So I just clicked on there. We don't need to see that. So what you're seeing is just your general invoice information, like all the detailed invoice information, PO numbers, discounts, things like that. And this is, it's pretty handy when the publishers, forget to include a packing list in the shipment. You can come on here and print directly from your browser in just a bit of time. So Batch makes it really simple to navigate. Let's see, I'm going to go back from here. Batch is making it really simple to navigate access to the invoices and information you're looking for. And we make it really easy to see the invoice details. Keep in mind that you haven't had to do anything to get this information organized. You haven't had to do any data entry, print anything, download anything. You haven't had to go through a filing cabinet to pull out an invoice to see what's on it. Everything's just right here already and pretty easy to access just by clicking a few buttons. Beyond being an already organized repository of invoices, which is a big benefit in and of itself, Batch also makes it very easy to prepare your payments. It's anecdotal, but what I've heard from a lot of Batch users is they're spending half as much time or less on preparing a payment compared to what they used to spend. And preparing a payment is really easy on Batch. It's basically 2 steps. First, you're going to authorize and select the invoices you want to pay and the credits you want to use. And then you're going to send Batch a payment. Before I show you how to authorize the invoices, I want to point out that you have complete control over what invoices to pay and credits to apply and when you want to pay them. Batch is not going to remit anything that you haven't authorized. With that said, let's talk about how to authorize those invoices. It's really easy. You can come into a list of transactions. We have these radio buttons on the left-hand side of the screen. And one of the radio buttons is for authorize. So you just simply go down your list, authorizing your invoices and your credits. Then we come to the bottom of the screen and we hit update. It takes a second here. Okay, now I'm going to go back to current period summary. And you can see that there's, sorry about that, that there are some authorized transactions now for HarperCollins. The second method is to authorize invoices from the summary screen. So let's say we're looking at Macmillan and we know that we want to authorize all 37 of these open transactions. You can simply just click the authorize all button and everything is authorized for you. So that's also pretty simple. After you've authorized your invoices, the next step is to send a payment to batch. You find your payment amount on this current period summary screen. It's in this totals row in the amount to be paid to batch column. After you've found that amount, you send a batch of payment either through electronic bank transfer or wire transfer. You only need to send us one payment. You don't have to send us a payment for each vendor. We do have some users who do send us different payments for each vendor, but most do send us just this one single payment. I should note that batch does not draft funds from your bank account for payments. You're going to be initiating the payment on your end. Now, once you've sent your payment, batch is going to take care of the rest. We're going to remit invoices and payments to the publishers every Friday morning and also on the last business day of the month. You can make one payment a month or multiple payments a month. It's entirely up to you and what works best for you and your store. The nice thing is when batch sends your payment invoices to the publishers, it gets posted that same day. There's no waiting whatsoever for anything to clear. And the really nice thing is that there's never any discrepancies. Whatever invoices and credits that you authorize is exactly what gets remitted and exactly what gets posted on the publisher end. And also the payments that we send to the publishers are always going to exactly match this authorized amount. So there's never any discrepancies that way either. And that's really the basics of using batch. I mean, it's really simple and straightforward. You're accessing your invoices and you're just selecting the ones that you want to pay and you're sending payments to batch. I did really quick want to talk about two other things you can do through batch. The first of those things is you can make a claim through batch for damages and shortages. And this is really, really easy to do. So let's see. You find the invoice that you want to make a claim and you just hit this claim button here. And let's say one copy of Stray City came in damaged. Set the reason, set the quantity, you validate it, and then you confirm it. And that really is all there is to making a claim. A file is generated and sent to the publishers to process. And they process it on their end, and soon enough, you'll have a credit note appear on batch. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here for a second. The second item that I did want to talk about today is Quickbooks Integration. It's an optional thing that you can do, but you can integrate QuickBooks with batch. And what's going to happen with that integration is it's going to transmit your invoice and credit information from batch to QuickBooks. So if you're having to hand enter invoices into QuickBooks right now, you're going to save a ton of time by integrating with batch. Aside from saving time, the other benefit is just the accuracy of the information. You know, you're receiving hundreds and hundreds of invoices each year, and if you're hand entering those, typos and things like that are just unavoidable. Missing invoices, are unavoidable. But integrating with batch is kind of really mitigate the risk of all those things and make sure that all your information is up to date and accurate. The other aspect of the QuickBooks integration is when you do a remittance through batch, we're going to send a remittance update to QuickBooks. And what this is going to do is it's going to mark all those invoices as paid and credits applied. And it's going to create bill payments for each of your publishers. And that's how batch works. We're organizing all your invoices and credits, putting them in one place in a consistent format, and trying just to make it as easy as possible for you to access your invoices, track your invoices, and ultimately get your invoices paid and hopefully save you a big chunk of time in the process. Before moving on to Valerie, I did want to mention that the vendors that we currently have on board are Penguin Random House, Macmillan, and HarperCollins. We know that this isn't all your vendors, and we are trying to get more vendors. But I would say that these three probably comprise a sizable percentage of your invoices. Like I said, we are looking to add more vendors. We are in a kind of a bit of an awkward spot at the moment. When we talk to publishers about getting onto Batch, they say Batch sounds great, but there's not enough stores on board. And when we talk to stores, they say Batch sounds great, but there's not enough publishers on board. So the more stores that we have on board, the easier it's going to be for us to get publishers on board. One final thing I wanted to mention is Batch is a free service to indie bookstores, and there is no cost to using it. So now we're going to turn it over to our bookseller, Valerie Partridge-Martin from Skylight Bookstore. Hi, Valerie. Thank you very much for being here today. I was hoping you could just start off by introducing yourself to everyone and tell them about your role at Skylight Books.
I am the bookkeeper at Skylight Books, and I've been there for about 3.5 years. And so I am in charge of just paying the bills and invoice management, of course, which thank you for talking about that, Nathan, because Batch has really streamlined that process significantly, as well as the integration with QuickBooks. I think those are the key elements I feel that have really changed my workflow and my workload, and also it's increased efficiency, definitely. I'm a big fan of Batch.
That's always very good to hear. And just in terms of like Batch fitting into the workflow of the store, can you kind of maybe go into detail about, your workflow with Batch in terms of, what you do with invoices, how, like when you authorize things on Batch, and maybe compare it to maybe vendors who aren't on Batch, so people can kind of see the difference between the two.
Yeah, well, we get a lot of invoices, and they come constantly. So, and we get them email as well as mailed by post. So that's a lot of paperwork. The advantage, of course, with Batch is that the invoices are electronically integrated into QuickBooks. And so that eliminates the sorting and the organizing. It's really done for you, which is really helpful. What's great about Batch is that I can decide when to sync the integration anytime. So you can do it weekly, you can do it daily, whatever suits you. It's also very handy that you can remit payment really anytime. We tend to pay toward the end of the month, but it's very flexible, and I think that's really great for budgeting, financial planning, and that sort of thing. I think another key element, especially from a bookkeeping perspective, is that you need to keep top of your invoices, and it can be a huge task, and it can be very tedious. And Batch has really helped make that a little bit more streamlined. And so when you are able to keep on top of your invoices, when everything is in QuickBooks, then you have a really good idea of where you are with your accounts payable. And so I think that's a really key element.
Nice. And just to kind of hop on what Valerie said there, just in terms of multiple payments, right now about 2/3 of Batch users are sending the single payment per month. It's usually the last business day of the month is the one they're shooting for. The other third of stores, it's a mix. Some of them, we have a couple stores who we are receiving weekly payments from them and remitting things on a weekly basis. We have other users who 1 week they're paying Macmillan, the next week they're paying Harper, and then the final week of the month they might be paying Penguin Random House. So they're spreading it out, and I think it's nice that just Batch, they're able to still be flexible. Batch isn't so rigid where they have to do everything at once if they don't want to do that. are you the only one on staff who's using Batch, or do you have other, like in the receiving department or anybody else who's currently using Batch, and how are they using it?
Our receiving manager is familiar with it. And
Nice.
I asked him how he's doing with it, and he said, it's great.
Nice.
I am not very familiar with receiving. I really stick to the bookkeeping side of it. But our receiving manager told me that making the claims
Mhm.
end of it, he felt it was a lot easier than what he's done before. So that was the report I got back from that.
Nice.
That-
And out of curiosity, there's a status, just for the people out in the audience, like stores, they have to authorize an invoice before they pay it, but there's another status that stores can do where they can verify an invoice first. And I was wondering, are the people in your receiving department verifying them before you authorize them, or are you just moving things from open to verified?
I have been asking them to verify it because that's the point. I mean, we like to have a consistent protocol. And so I think it was a little bit of a slow go at first, learning something new. Also the timing, we weren't all in the office at the same time. So just kind of getting together to get trained. That was a little bit of a hurdle, but I think it's something that I see better consistency. So I'm really
Nice.
happy with that.
Yeah, that's actually a good kind of a segue, just in terms of training. And you say that it took some time for some people to get on board or to learn it and everything. I was wondering if you could talk about the learning curve. Like, was there anything in particular that was maybe a little bit more difficult to get into than other parts? Because it is, I know adding a whole new system can often be, there's always complications with adding a whole new system.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the perception oftentimes is something new. Oh no, this is something else I have to take on.
Yeah.
But I could, from my point of view, from what I'm doing, I could see the benefit because of the invoices. I mean, and just being consistent with QuickBooks, and it's a huge, huge time saver. But I think once people got used to just like the interface and how things looked, and it's really actually, it's so easy, it's kind of unbelievable. In fact, when I was during the installation process, I actually thought I did something wrong because it was so easy. I thought I missed a step or something. Also, once you get on it, it's so user friendly. I mean, just the way it looks, it's easy to navigate. It's easier on the eyes when you're just going through like lots and lots of numbers, and just it's easier than QuickBooks, actually. I mean, just the way it is to find things and to check it off. And so once you get used to it and you just kind of, open up to something new, you realize, oh, this is actually easier than I thought.
Nice. That's good to hear. Something we didn't discuss in advance, and so I might be springing this on you, so sorry about that. But I was actually talking to some booksellers recently, and they were mentioning that, and I sort of work this into like my little part of the presentation, is the them having like kind of similar information as the publishers, like resolving conflicts or discrepancies that arise has been easier for them. I'm not sure if that's the case for you, but has it made it easier, or have you just not noticed that at all?
I wouldn't say I had any conflicts. I think at the very beginning, and I think you and I were emailing about this, the only thing that I had, sometimes some invoices were missing.
Yeah.
Right. And so it was a matter of getting in touch with the publisher, and they would send things over. So I think at the very beginning, it just took a little more time. I would use my statements, and I would just match everything just to make sure. It was kind of a way I can learn also, until everything, I mean, I think it wasn't just me learning it. I think also the publishers getting things loaded up, sending it to batch. So I realized there are moving parts in this. And I think it took a few months for it to finally come together. And now I feel it's like 100% confident that this is working for me.
Nice. So what, like, just is there any features that you would say like, what are the best and what are the worst features of using batch in your opinion?
I know I've said this over and over, but the invoice management and the
Yeah.
QuickBooks integration, like those are
Nice.
the two things that just really, really helps. I think there were some idiosyncrasies at the beginning. I think I can't really remember anymore. We've been using this for almost a year, right? Or a year and 2 months or something. One of the things I think, like the B2B invoices were not getting loaded properly. I mean, there
Yeah.
were just some kind of weird things that just like we resolved and it's done. So yeah, I can't really comment any further
No,
on that.
that's, that's something that, and you were talking about like it being a learning process for the publishers as well. And that's one of the things that I've learned to ask, like after we have stores going live every month, and I send a list of stores to the publishers, and they like confirm it and everything like that. And then I always, because it cropped up with your store and actually a number of other stores, I'm like, are there any B2B accounts that we should know about? And so the publishers have gotten, that's just one of the things, just with the experience of using Bash, that it's not really an issue anymore, which is nice. Just, they're aware of that. So yeah, it just speaks to it being a learning process for the publishers end as well. And yeah, there are some idiosyncratic things with Batch that we're working on, but for sure.
Yeah, and I think some of those things that I had questions on, like maybe 6-9 months ago, have been resolved.
Yeah, we've made some little changes here and there, and we have some bigger changes coming forward and everything. It's not really going to affect kind of the general how you use it and everything, but there's some good things that are going to be coming soon. If a store was going live with Batch or they want to get started, do you have any tips for them on implementing it in their stores? Any kind of preparation that they should do in advance before they get started that you can recommend?
I would just say, like, bringing on anything new, do it when don't do it like in the busy season. Don't do it like right before the holidays or something. Just do it when you have time to work on it and when you're not like super stressed out about other things. Yeah.
Nice. I'm just trying to, let me see. I think we covered like a lot of things on my list here. Is there anything else that, I didn't cover that you kind of think it's important for people to know about Batch?
No, I think we covered really everything that I had on my notes in our conversation.
Awesome.
Yeah. I have to say, just starting out with this, the packet that you sent over, the instructions, the screenshots and all that, it just made it really easy and clear. So in case you are kind of reluctant to start something new, I mean, I think there's a lot of tools and resources, and you've been a great help if I had to email you and ask
Thanks.
help. So it was really just super easy.
Nice. Just for everybody out there, before we get to some questions, if you are interested in getting started with Batch, I just want to let you know a little bit about the process. It's really simple. You basically let us know that you want to get started with Batch by emailing me, or let me see, I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so if you go to batchforbooks.com, we have this contact us or register, and you just fill this out, and that is the way, the first step towards getting started. Or you can just email me, and I will put my email address in the chat in just a minute. And after you contact us and let us know, you pick a month you want to go live, and I send you out a user agreement to fill out and return. In terms of timing, we just need the user agreement about 2 weeks before the month you want to go live. So for example, if you wanted to go start in July, we would need it returned by June 15th. Other than filling out the form, though, there's not too much in the way of prep work that you're going to have to do. Actually, what I wanted to do here. Sorry, I'm just typing in my email address into the chat.
And if anyone has if anyone has questions for Nathan and they want to put those in the chat, or just you can unmute yourself and go ahead and weigh in.
Yeah. Let's see here.
There we go. So I have a question about MPS. I just learned that I've been getting my statements. I've been paying as soon as I get my statement, if I can verify that I've received the product. But I found out that it's actually not due for 60 days. So I have been paying way ahead of time. And they have a program where if you pay in the first 25 days, you get 1% discount. Is that something that I can do on batch? How do I?
Yes, so that's going to happen automatically. So what happens is how that process works is you prepare your payments as you normally do. You select the invoices on batch, and in the background, we sort of flag the invoices that are eligible for the 1% discount. And what we'll do is after you make your payment to batch, you'll see a new credit note appear on batch for you to use towards your next payment. And that credit note is equivalent to the 1%.
And how do you, how are you reconciling? I reconcile with packing slips. So when I get a statement, I've got a stack of packing slips that I have to make sure I actually receive the product. And a lot of it, I'm getting bogged down now because Harper, Hachette, Penguin, they're all sourcing some of their shipping through Ingram. So I have to really seriously match up my packing slips to the invoice. So it doesn't sound like this system actually does that side of it. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. I mean, it's not going to be an automated process. The nice thing is everything's in one place for you, but it's not going to automatically do that yet. One of the things that we hope to do in the future that might make that process a bit easier is, and we're not there yet, but is integrate with POS systems, which would make that kind of tracking, I think, a much easier process.
Okay, yeah, because I'm basically tracking by purchase order, and of course, sometimes there's more than one packing slip per purchase order.
Sure.
So my receiving, I really would be interested in knowing how receiving fits into this, because they might be able to save me a lot of time if I knew a little bit more about how that side works.
I'm going to say that that is something that varies store by store and depends on their workflow. There's not really sort of a recommended way that people are receiving on batch. We have some stores who that I've talked to who, they have, when they're receiving into their POS system, they have batch open, and as they receive a packing list, they verify it on batch and press the verify button, and they're doing it an invoice at a time. There's other stores who, it's a weekly process where somebody sits down with an invoice, goes through batch and verifies the invoices that way. It really is it's really store dependent. That's what I found, at least, that it's store dependent.
And you mentioned that that we're not actually paying batch. So you've got a number out there. You're communicating that number to the publisher and to us, and then we have to make arrangements to do electronic post. Okay.
Yeah. So we on the screen, you're just going to see your total amount that you've authorized for payment. Those are the invoices that you're like, I want to pay those now. And you just take that total amount and you're going to send us a payment. And then, the funds that we receive from you, we split them up by vendor and everything like that, and shoot them out during our remittance to the vendors in the correct amounts. Had a couple questions in the chat. Do you have any plans to integrate with Ingram? We would like to. We have no, it's not immediate, or it's not, it's not imminent, but we definitely do want to integrate with Ingram. We know that just about every store out there, big and small, uses Ingram, I would say. So it would be great if they were on Batch, but right now we're just in the conversation stage with them. Another question we've had from Mimi, are there any other store teams who would use Batch besides accounting and receiving? Is there any functionality that would replace publisher portals like tracking shipments for an invoice? So not receiving and accounting would be the two main teams that would be using it. Right now, it would actually be really nice if we could have tracking numbers come onto Batch and you could just go in there and click a link to track the invoice. But we don't have that functionality. Likely, if you needed to track a shipment, you would still have to go to the publisher portal. But the invoice would be on Batch at least. Not sure. Hopefully that at least address. I'm trying to think if there's any besides accounting and receiving. I'm just trying to think of all the functionalities of Batch. Right now, no. So Batch has been in the UK for about 20 years now, and one thing that Batch UK has that we do not have yet is a returns module in Batch, which I think people will probably find very handy once we're able to bring it over here to the US. And what that looks like is a store, they in Batch, they enter all the ISBNs of the books they plan to return, and it sends it out to the publishers for review. And within 24 hours, they've either approved your return or said books that aren't eligible for a return. So we think that will help stores a lot when we're able to get that going. And it won't be as labor intensive as actually entering the ISBNs. Hopefully it'll be the kind of thing that's integrated into your POS system at that point. But hopefully we can add the returns functionality too. Valerie, here's a question for you, posted by Valentina. You may have gone over this, Valerie, but what does receiving look like with your team using Batch? How often do you go over your packing slips with the invoices?
The receivers take the packing slips and then they verify it in Batch.
I'm going to put another link into the chat. It's a Dropbox link, but it's sort of a getting started document. And it kind of goes over everything from registering to everything you need to know, from registering to Batch to kind of making your first payment to Batch. And it has some links and just a bunch of general information. Definitely recommend checking it out if you're interested. A lot of good information there.